say this to all of the committee before this meeting. I said it at the beginning of this meeting. We are only dealing with what is in the report. And whilst I know some
Chair,
of you might want to deviate...
Chair, these issues are connected.
But we could say everything's connected to everything, but actually we're only here to discuss this report. So if colleagues can please just keep it to the events that are reflected back in this report.
Chair, I do think this is it's absolutely at the crux of how the trust and confidence in the Commissioner was lost, and I do think it is reflected in the report. I keep referencing the paragraphs.
Have you any other questions?
I was just very keen to hear back from the Mayor in response to what Sir Tom said.
Let's be clear. The terms of reference that the former Commissioner gave Sir Tom were establish and assess the full facts, timeline of events, and circumstances which resulted in the stepping down of Dame Sadiq as Commissioner. In the timeline of events and key facts are the series of terrible scandals. Now, the fact that Sir Tom's chosen to ignore them speaks volumes.
No. Sir Tom.
I haven't ignored them, and my terms of reference were not given to me by the Commissioner. They were given to me by the Home Secretary.
Yeah.
I'll make my point. So the Home Secretary is saying to Sir Tom,
no,
establish and assess the full facts. Look at the timeline of events, and the point that you're making, Caroline, is...
Mr Mayor, we are keeping just to what is in the report. We're now going to move over to my next colleague, Assembly Member... I thought you said you'd finished.
I have finished. I have finished.
So, there we are. Thank you.
I have finished. But it would have been polite to let the Mayor finish his sentence.
Well, we could be sat here all day talking about things other than the report, which isn't what we're here for. Sorry, Sir Tom.
May I just add?
Sorry, I couldn't finish, but Sir Tom can be brought back in.
Well, because he's only talking about the report.
I'll be very brief. The factual matrix is described in the report, but the factual matrix is relevant to the conduct of the parties and whether the Mayor was justified on the 10th of February of communicating through his staff that he was about to make an announcement that he had lost trust and confidence in the Commissioner. And the critical period is between the 19th of January and the 10th of February.
It is indeed. Assembly Member Neil Garrett.
Mr Mayor, did you ask the Commissioner to act unlawfully or outside her powers? No. Sorry, could you switch your microphone on? I believe you've finished getting your drink. Appreciate it, sir. Thirst-inducing conversation. So did you ask the former Commissioner to act unlawfully or outside her powers?
No.
So this is specifically, obviously, in relation to the meeting of the 2nd of February. Did you try to give the impression that you would like her to act unlawfully or outside her powers?
No, I suggested she gets external legal advice rather than relying upon internal advice to see what else she could do.
You didn't try to put pressure on her or get anyone in your team to put pressure on her to act in a way which you obviously would know would not be within her powers.
No, and the minutes that were taken, don't say that either.
So this is in connection to the request to dismiss officers. So there are a number of officers who were flagged as part of the Operation Houghton investigation. And the Commissioner's recollection is that you just wanted her to fire the lot of them.
So you've got my version of events.
Well, I'm putting it to you so you have an opportunity to respond. Yeah.
You've got my version of events, the Chief of Staff's version of events, the Deputy Mayor's version of events. You've got the minutes, and then you've got Dame Cressida and Sir Tom's version of events. Mine are different to theirs. Right.
This is why I'm now asking you the question. Is that what happened? So that's what the Commissioner thinks happened. She got the impression that you wanted her just to sack all of those officers. And is that not what happened?
No, I thought I'd answer that question, but
you haven't answered the question. You answered by just quoting the fact that there are lots of versions of events. So I'm asking you specifically about what your version of events. So did you make any requests in relation to getting rid of those officers, including, as you would know, some of those officers had already been through a process with the IOPC and had already been cleared?
What I said publicly and to Dame Cressida is the public could not understand why some officers had been promoted, many officers were still serving, and she'd accepted the IOPC's version of events. I'd suggested that she gets legal advice, external legal advice, in relation to the position. They're probably are two conclusions that have been reached. The legal advice would have said, actually, Dame Cressida, there's nothing else you can do. And that would be a virtue in relation to the Commissioner showing she's trying her best to address serious issues. The second thing the legal advice may have come back with is actually there are things you can do to, in relation to that. Dame Cressida was not minded to get that external legal advice, and that's one of the things I was suggesting she should do.
But even in public, though, your public comments are that all of those officers, people can't, I think your quote was, no, the public can't understand why any of those officers are still there. But surely you knew that some of those officers had been investigated and cleared.
No, the public couldn't understand. The public still can't understand.
But you knew that some of them had been investigated and cleared. So what did you think should happen with those officers?
Well, no, that's upon legal advice. Because I've given you two examples. On Child Q,
sorry,
the IPC said...
Some of those officers, you surely knew this at the time and you certainly know it now. Some of those officers had already been investigated by the IOPC and had already been cleared or found no case to answer. What did you think should happen with those officers?
Well, no, all we had was the IOPC report. My point being is, what the Commissioner should be doing is to give confidence to the public about the way the police are policed. That's part of the...
sacking officers who've been cleared? Because that's what she thinks you wanted her to do.
Those are your words, not mine.
I'm putting them to you because you're not really answering, you're not engaging with the point that I'm making. Some of those officers, we assume, have been involved in serious wrongdoing and need to be investigated. I think all of us in this room would share the idea that unfit officers need to be removed, but you can't just sack people who have been found to have done nothing wrong. The Commissioner's view is that that's what you wanted her to do.
Well, let's be clear.
So what do you think should happen specifically with those officers whose name came up in relation to that investigation, but who had been investigated and cleared?
Let's be clear. I don't agree with you when you say those officers have done nothing wrong. So we disagree there, and I think London is with me, not with you.
So when the IOPC cleared them, you think they were wrongly cleared?
Well, your words were, those officers have done nothing wrong. My view is those officers have done something wrong. They've used racist, sexist, misogynistic
hang on,
language.
now you're putting words in my mouth. Clearly some wrong things were done by some officers, not all officers. The purpose of due process is to find out which people had done something wrong and then discipline them, including, I think in many of those cases, just removing them from the Met. Other people, they may be wrongly accused. So if those officers have been investigated and cleared, what should happen? They should just be fired? They should just have a shadow of guilt cast on them?
So am I dealing with the hypothetical or the Dame Cressida point?
So let's check the facts. So in your view, were some of the officers who were implicated in the Operation Houghton investigation, were any of those officers cleared of wrongdoing?
So in the IPC process, yes. My point is that no external advice was sought about whether there were other avenues or options open to the Met Police Service.
So is your view that the IOPC reached a wrong conclusion in relation to some of those officers?
In this particular case, I don't know. In the past, they have.
You seem to be implying it. That's what I'm trying to understand.
My point is you've got to test it. You don't just take at face value what you're given. So an example is the IOPC said to the public, the officers in Child Q should be investigated for conduct, not gross misconduct. So I'm giving you an example where IOPC do get things wrong, and there are other examples as well. My point to the Commissioner in this particular case was, have you sought to test it? Have you got external advice? Or why don't you get external advice?
But your motive in suggesting that was presumably that you thought that all of those officers should be got rid of, including the ones that the IOPC had cleared.
Well, no, it would address the question the public had about how is it the case that none of these officers, beg your pardon, except for the two that you referred to, the other officers either have been promoted or are still serving.
Who do you think handled the situation more responsibly, the mayor or the commissioner? Should officers cleared by the IOPC still face further action, or should the case be considered closed? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel for more in-depth political commentary, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the world of power and politics. Thanks for watching.